The auction hall smelled like old metal and cheap coffee. Tay stood at the back, his hands in his pockets, watching the crowd of aliens and humans fight over broken ships. He was not here for anything special. He just needed parts. Maybe an engine? Maybe some wiring. Anything he could fix and sell for a small profit. Tay was 32 years old. He had dark hair that was always messy and oil stains on his jacket that never washed out. He ran a small salvage yard on the edge of New Seoul Station. It was not a glamorous life, but it was his. He fixed things. That was what he did. That was what he was good at. The auctioneer, a four-armed alien with blue skin, pointed to the next item on the list. A ship appeared on the big screen behind him. It was long and silver, shaped like a blade. Even through the damage, Tay could see it had been beautiful once. Now it was a wreck. Holes in the hull. Burn marks everywhere. One wing was completely gone. Keth cruiser, the auctioneer said. Heavy damage. Sold as is. No refunds? No complaints. The room went quiet. People looked at each other and shook their heads. Tay heard someone whisper the word cursed behind him. The Keth were a proud species. They looked like wolves that walked on two legs. They were tall, strong, and they did not like other species touching their things. Everyone knew that. Everyone also knew that Keth ships were almost impossible to repair without Keth tools and Keth knowledge. Nobody raised their hand. The auctioneer looked bored. Tay looked at the ship again. He saw the damage, yes, but he also saw the bones of something amazing. That hull was made from materials humans could not even name. Those engines, if they still worked, could sell for a fortune. He raised his hand. The auctioneer stared at him. The human in the back. Are you sure? Tay nodded. How much? The price was so low it was almost insulting. Nobody else wanted it. Tay paid with the credits he had saved for 3 months and tried not to think about how angry his sister would be. 2 hours later, he stood in his salvage yard looking at his new purchase. The Keth cruiser sat in the middle of the concrete floor like a dead animal. Up close, the damage was even worse. Tay could see where weapons had hit it. Plasma burns. Missile holes. Someone had tried very hard to destroy this ship. He put on his work gloves and started exploring. The inside of the ship was dark and cold. Emergency lights flickered in the hallways. Everything was built for someone bigger than Tay. The doors were tall. The seats were wide. He felt like a child walking through a giant's house. He found the engine room first. The engines were damaged, but not dead. He could fix them. He found the control room next. Most of the computers were destroyed, but he could sell the screens and the wiring. Then he found the cargo hold. It was at the back of the ship, behind a heavy metal door. The door was stuck. Tay had to use a crowbar to open it. When he finally got inside, he stopped breathing. There was a pod in the middle of the room. It was made of glass and metal, about 7 feet long. Lights blinked on its surface. A soft hum filled the air. Someone was inside. Tay walked closer, his heart beating fast. He wiped the dust from the glass and looked down. A face stared back at him. It was not human. It was covered in silver fur. The nose was long, like a Volf's snout. The ears were pointed and pressed flat against the skull. The creature was huge, easily 7 feet tall, with shoulders as wide as a door. There were wounds all over its body. Cuts, burns, dried blood. But the chest was moving. Up and down. Slow and steady. It was alive. Tay stood there for a long time, trying to decide what to do. The smart thing was to call the station authorities. Let them handle it. A Keth on the station was a political problem. A wounded Keth was a bigger problem. Getting involved would bring nothing but trouble, but Tay could not stop looking at those wounds. Someone had hurt this creature badly and left it to die. Someone had tried to destroy the whole ship just to bury their secret. He thought about his father, who had died alone in a hospital because no one bothered to check on him. He thought about his mother, who always said that a person's worth is measured by how they treat those who cannot help them. Tay pulled out his phone and called his sister. Hannah answered on the third ring. What did you do now? I need your help, Tay said. And bring your medical kit. The big one. Tay, I swear if you hurt yourself again, it's not me, he said. He looked down at the unconscious alien, at the slow rise and fall of its chest. I found someone. And I think I'm going to do something stupid. There was a long silence on the other end. I'll be there in 20 minutes, Hannah said. Don't touch anything. Tay hung up the phone and sat down next to the pod. The Keth's face was peaceful in sleep, but even unconscious it looked dangerous. Those claws could tear him apart. Those teeth could crush bone. He was definitely going to regret this, but he stayed anyway. Because that was who Tay was. He fixed things. And right now, this creature needed fixing more than anything he had ever seen. The pod hummed quietly in the darkness, keeping its passenger alive. Somewhere in the station, Hannah was gathering her supplies. And somewhere in the galaxy, the people who had tried to destroy this ship were probably celebrating their success. They did not know that they had failed. They did not know that a stubborn, human mechanic had just bought their biggest mistake. The first thing Varn remembered was pain. It burned through his chest like fire. Then came the smells. Strange smells. Food he did not recognize. Metal and grease. And something else. Something warm and alive. Human. His eyes snapped open. He tried to jump up, but his body refused. His arms felt like stone. His legs would not move. He was lying on something soft, in a room he had never seen before. The ceiling was low. The walls were covered with pictures and tools. Everything was small. Everything was wrong. A face appeared above him, small, round, no fur. Flat teeth. Brown eyes full of worry. Human. Varn tried to growl, but his throat was too dry. The sound came out weak and broken. Easy, the human said. You're safe. My name is Tay. I found you on the ship. Do you understand me? Varn understood. He wished he did not. The translator chip in his ear was still working, turning the ugly human language into words he could follow. Where? He forced out. Where is my crew? The human's face changed. The worry became something heavier. Something sad. There was no crew, Tay said softly. Just you? I'm sorry. Varn closed his eyes. The memories came flooding back. The attack. The fire. His captain screaming orders. The stasis pod closing around him as the ship fell apart. They were gone. All of them. He was the only one left. For 3 weeks, Varn healed in that tiny human room. A female human named Hannah came every day to check his wounds and change his bandages. She was Tay's sister. She had the same brown eyes but a sharper tongue. She did not seem afraid of him, which Varn found both annoying and a little bit impressive. Tay was there too. Always there. He brought food that tasted terrible and water that tasted like metal. He talked constantly, telling stupid jokes that were not funny. He asked questions that Varn refused to answer. Why do you stay? Varn finally asked one night. I am Keth. We are not friends of humans. Tay shrugged. He was sitting in a chair next to the bed, eating something from a small box. You were hurt. I helped. That's it. That is not how the universe works. Maybe not your universe, Tay said. But in my universe, you don't leave someone to die just because they're different. Varn did not know what to say to that. Among the Keth, weakness was shameful. The wounded were left behind. The slow were abandoned. Resources were not wasted on those who could not fight, but this human had wasted. Weeks on him, food, medicine, time, for nothing. For a stranger who could not even say thank you, it made no sense. By the 4th week, Varn was strong enough to stand. He tried to leave immediately. You can't go, Hannah said, blocking the door. She barely reached his chest, but she stood there like she could stop him. Your bones are not fully healed. Your lung was punctured. If you walk out that door, you will collapse in an hour. Then I will collapse, Varn said. And die? Yes, Hannah stared at him. Then she stepped aside. Fine, go ahead. Die in some alley like an idiot. See if I care. Varn walked past her. He made it to the main door of the salvage yard. He made it 3 steps outside, then his legs gave out. He woke up back in the bed, with Hannah checking his wounds again and Tay sitting in his stupid chair with his stupid smile. Told you, Hannah said without looking up. Varn wanted to bite something. As the days passed, Varn began to notice things. Tay's hands were always busy. He was always fixing something. A broken radio, a damaged engine part, a cracked screen. He worked late into the night, humming songs that Varn did not recognize. You fix things, Varn said one evening. It was not a question. That's my job, Tay said. I buy broken stuff, fix it, sell it. Sometimes I make enough money to eat. Sometimes I don't, and you bought my ship. Yep, to fix it? Tay laughed. No, that thing is beyond fixing. But the parts are valuable. The metal alone is worth more than this whole yard. Varn felt something cold in his chest. You will take it apart. That was the plan, Tay said. He looked at Varn carefully. Does that bother you? Varn wanted to say no. The ship was just metal and wire. It meant nothing, but it was the last piece of his old life. The last proof that his crew had existed at all. There was a black box, Varn said suddenly. A recording device. In the captain's quarters. It would have recorded everything. The attack. The voices of my enemies. Tay frowned. I searched the whole ship. I didn't find anything like that. Then someone took it. Varn sat up, ignoring the pain. Before you bought the ship. Someone took the truth and left me to die. The room was quiet for a long moment. So find it, Tay said. Varn stared at him. What? Find the black box. Find out who killed your crew. Tay leaned forward. I know people. I know how this station works. I can help? Why would you help me? Tay smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who understood loss. Because I know what it's like to have questions without answers, he said. And because you're grumpy, rude, and annoying. But you're also stuck here because of me. So the least I can do is help you find the truth. Varn looked at this strange human. This small, fragile creature who fixed broken things and saved dying aliens and smiled even when he had no reason to. You're a fool, Varn said. Probably, Tay agreed. But I'm your fool now. Whether you like it or not? Varn wanted to argue. He wanted to refuse. Instead, he just nodded. The hunt would begin tomorrow. The lower levels of New Sol Station smelled like sweat and secrets. Neon lights flickered above narrow streets filled with aliens of every shape and size. Music played from hidden speakers. Smoke rose from food stalls selling things that might or might not be legal to eat. Varn pulled his hood lower over his face. He hated this place. It was loud and crowded and everything moved too fast. But Tay walked through it like he belonged here, nodding at strangers and slipping between crowds with ease. Stay close, Tay said. And try not to growl at anyone. I do not growl, Varn growled. They were looking for a man named Day, according to Tay. Day knew everything that happened on the station. Every stolen item. Every secret deal. Every whisper in the dark. They found him in a small bar at the end of a dead-end street. The sign above the door was broken, showing only half of a word. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and the sound of low conversations. Day sat in the back corner, playing cards with 2 aliens that looked like insects. He was human, about Tay's age, with a shaved head and a smile that never reached his eyes. Tay, Day said without looking up, I heard you bought that cursed Keth ship. Everyone thinks you've lost your mind. Everyone might be right, Tay said, sitting down. I need information. Day finally looked up. His eyes moved to Varn, who stood behind Tay like a shadow. Something flickered across his face. Fear, maybe. Or respect. That's a big pet you've got there, Day said carefully. Varn showed his teeth. It was not a smile. He's friendly, Tay said. We're looking for a black box. Keth military grade. It would have been removed from the ship before the auction. Someone sold it? Day put down his cards. The two insect aliens took the hint and left quickly. You're playing a dangerous game, Day said. Keth military tech is not something people talk about openly. There are buyers out there who would kill for that kind of information. So you know who has it? Varn said. Day looked at him for a long moment. Then he sighed. Goro, he said. Big reptile. Runs the black market on level 47. He collects secrets, recordings, data files. Anything that gives him power over others. If your black box exists, he probably bought it. Tay nodded slowly. Can we meet with him? You can try. But Goro doesn't like humans. And he really doesn't like Keth? Day leaned forward. My advice? Forget the black box. Take your Wolf friend and disappear before you get killed. Thanks for the advice, Tay said, standing up. I'll ignore it completely. They laughed, but there was no humor in it. You haven't changed at all? They left the bar and walked deeper into the lower levels. Varn was quiet for a long time. Your friend is afraid, he finally said. Tay is afraid of everything, Tay said. That's why he's still alive. Level 47 was worse than the others. The lights were dimmer. The streets were emptier. Armed guards stood at every corner, watching everyone who passed. Goro's headquarters was a large building in the center of the level. It looked like a fortress. Metal walls. Reinforced doors. Cameras everywhere. Tay's plan was simple. They would pose as buyers. They would say they wanted to purchase data from Goro's collection. Once inside, they would find a way to locate the black box. It was a terrible plan. Varn said so, twice, but they went anyway. The guards at the door searched them for weapons. They found Varn's knife and took it. They found nothing on Tay except some tools and a small flashlight. What's this for? One guard asked, holding up the flashlight. I'm a mechanic, Tay said with a friendly smile. I get nervous without my tools. The guard laughed and let them pass. Inside, the building was cold and quiet. A thin alien with too many eyes led them through long hallways to a large room in the back. And there, sitting on a throne made of bones, was Gor. He was massive. His skin was green and covered in scales. His eyes were yellow with black slits in the middle. When he smiled, Varn counted 3 rows of teeth. A human and Goro stopped. His eyes narrowed. A Keth, interesting. The Keth do not usually visit me. They prefer to pretend I do not exist. I am not a typical Keth, Varn said. Clearly, Goro looked at Tay. And you, little human, what do you want from me? We're interested in buying data, Tay said. Specifically, a Keth military black box that came through the market recently. The room went very still. That item is not for sale, Goro said slowly. And I'm curious how you know about it. Varn sensed the trap a second before it closed. Guards appeared from the shadows. Doors slammed shut behind them. Weapons pointed at their heads. A Keth survivor, Goro said, standing up. Do you know how much your enemies would pay for you? Dead or alive? Varn prepared to fight. It would be pointless. There were too many guards. But he would not die on his knees. Then Tay moved. He did not run or fight. He just dropped to one knee and opened a panel on the floor. His hands moved fast, pulling wires, connecting circuits. The lights flickered. What are you doing? Goro shouted. I noticed your power grid when we walked in, Tay said calmly. Old design. Very unstable. If I cross these 2 wires... He held up 2 cables. Your whole security system goes dark. Doors open. Cameras die. Your enemies outside will see everything. Goro's face changed. For the first time, he looked uncertain. You're bluffing. Try me. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Tay touched the wires together. Sparks flew. Alarm started screaming. Run! Tay shouted. Varn grabbed him and ran. Guards chased them, but the chaos was everywhere. Doors were opening and closing randomly. Lights flashed on and off. Goro was screaming orders that nobody could follow. They burst through a side door and into the street. They ran until their lungs burned. They did not stop until they were 3 levels up and hidden in a maintenance tunnel. Varn leaned against the wall, breathing hard. There was a wound on his arm where a guard had cut him. "We failed," he said. "We did not get the black box." "No," Tay admitted. He was shaking but smiling. "But we got out alive." "That's something." Varn looked at this human. This small, weak creature who had just faced down a crime lord with nothing but a flashlight and some knowledge about wires. "You are insane," Varn said. "Probably," Tay agreed, and despite everything, Varn felt something strange, something that might have been respect. Hannah worked on Varn's arm while she yelled at both of them. "You broke into a crime lord's fortress. You started a fire. You got stabbed." She pulled the stitches tight, making Varn wince. "And you didn't even get what you came for. Did I miss anything?" "The fire was an accident," Tay said weakly. "I don't care." Hannah threw a bloody bandage into the trash. "You could have died. Both of you. For what? Some recording?" "That recording has the truth about my crew," Varn said quietly. "About who killed them." "And why?" Hannah stopped. She looked at Varn for a long moment. Then she sighed and sat down heavily. "I found something," she said. "While you two were being idiots, I was actually doing useful work." She pulled out a small device and set it on the table. It showed a map of the galaxy with a blinking red dot. "I pulled the emergency signal from the wreckage of your ship," Hannah explained. "The black box was sending a distress signal before it was stolen. The signal bounced through 3 relay stations before it stopped. Here," she pointed to the dot. "An old trading outpost on the edge of human space. Abandoned 10 years ago." Varn leaned forward. "Someone is there?" "With the black box." "Someone is definitely there," Hannah said. "The question is whether you want to walk into another trap." Tay looked at Varn. "It's your call." Varn did not hesitate. "We go." The trading outpost floated in empty space like a forgotten grave. It was huge and dark, covered in dust and silence. No ships, no lights, no signs of life, except for the single heat signature that Hannah's scanner detected. Deep inside, they docked their small transport ship at the main port. Hannah stayed on board, ready to fly them out if things went wrong. Tay and Varn went in alone. The corridors were long and empty. Their footsteps echoed in the darkness. Varn moved ahead, his senses sharp. He could smell something in the air. Something familiar. Keth. They found the room at the center of the station. It was large and round like an old meeting hall. In the middle sat a table with a small device on top. The black box. Varn walked toward it slowly. His heart was pounding. After all this time. After all the pain. The truth was right there. He reached for it. "I would not touch that if I were you." The voice came from the shadows. Varn spun around. A figure stepped into the light. He was Keth, tall and gray-furred, with cold eyes and a commander's uniform. Varn recognized him immediately. "Sarek." "You?" Varn said. The word came out like poison. Sarek smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Hello, Varn. I am surprised you survived. You always were stubborn. You did this." Varn's claws came out. "You betrayed us. You sold out the ship. I did what was necessary." Sarek walked around the table slowly. "Your captain was asking dangerous questions. About certain business arrangements, weapons trades, things that powerful people wanted to stay hidden. You killed them for money. I killed them for order." Sarek stopped next to the black box. "The Keth Empire is built on strength and discipline. Your captain threatened that. So yes, I made a deal. Pirates attacked. The ship was destroyed. And you..." He tilted his head. "You should have died with the rest." Tay stepped forward. "So what now? You're going to kill us too?" Sarek looked at him like he was looking at an insect. "The human speaks. How amusing." He raised his hand. Armed mercenaries appeared from the shadows, surrounding them. "Yes, little creature. You are both going to die here. And the black box will be destroyed. No evidence. No witnesses. Just another unsolved tragedy. Varn prepared to fight. He counted 12 mercenaries. Bad odds. Very bad odds, but Tay was not looking at the mercenaries. He was looking at the walls. At the ceiling. At the old power cables running through the room. Varn, he said quietly. When I say run, run, what? Just trust me. Tay reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. It looked like a remote control. Sarek laughed. What is that? A weapon? You cannot even. Tay pressed the button. Every light in the station turned on at once. Then off, then on again. The power grid screamed. Sparks flew from the walls. The old reactor somewhere deep in the station groaned like a dying animal. Meltdown warning, a mechanical voice announced. Reactor failure in 5 minutes. Please evacuate. The mercenaries panicked. Sarek's face went pale. Kill them! He screamed, but Varn was already moving. He grabbed the black box with one hand and Tay with the other. They ran through the chaos, past falling debris and screaming mercenaries. Sarek chased them. His footsteps thundered behind them. They reached a junction. 2 paths. One led to the docks. One led to a dead end. Varn turned to face Sarek. Go, he told Tay. Get to the ship. Varn. Go. Tay hesitated. Then he ran. Varn stood alone as Sarek approached. The commander was breathing hard, but his eyes were full of murder. You think you've won? Sarek said. Even if you escape, I am still a commander. I have power, friends, resources. You have nothing. Varn looked at the black box in his hand. Then he smiled. I have the truth. He pressed a button on the box. A recording began to play. Sarek's voice giving orders to the pirates, coordinates, payment details, everything. And Varn was broadcasting it. To every open channel in the sector, Sarek's face went white. No, no, no. Every Keth will hear this, Varn said. Every commander, every council member. They will know what you did. Sarek lunged at him. Varn stepped aside and hit him once, hard in the throat. The commander fell, gasping for air. Varn did not kill him. Death would be too quick. Too kind, he left Sarek on the floor and ran for the ship. They escaped just as the reactor began to melt. The station collapsed behind them, folding in on itself like a dying star. Hannah flew them to safety while Tay and Varn sat in the back, exhausted and bleeding but alive. Is it over? Tay asked. Varn looked at the black box in his hands. The recording was still broadcasting. Somewhere out there, Sarek's career was ending. His name was becoming poison. It is over, Varn said. Tay nodded. Then he looked at Varn with tired eyes. So what now? Varn did not have an answer. His crew was avenged. His enemy was destroyed, but he had nothing left. No ship, no home. No people, nothing except a fool human mechanic who had risked everything for a stranger. You saved me, Varn said slowly. Twice now, why? Tay shrugged. You were in my ship. That makes you my crew now, whether you like it or not. Varn stared at him. Then, for the first time since his crew died, he laughed. It was small. It was rough. But it was real. Maybe he did have something left after all. 3 months passed like water through open fingers. The salvage yard looked different now. The walls had been repainted. The old equipment had been replaced with newer models. A second building had been added, small but clean. With a bed big enough for a Keth, Varn stood in the main garage, covered in grease, holding a wrench that was too small for his hands. He was trying to fix an engine that did not want to be fixed. The bolts kept slipping. The wires kept tangling. Everything was built for human fingers, not Keth claws. He growled at the machine. Talking to the engine again? Tay walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Varn. You know it can't understand you, right? I know, Varn said. He took the coffee and drank it in one long gulp. It was terrible. It was always terrible. But somehow he had started to like it. The galaxy had not been kind to Sarek after the broadcast. The recording had spread everywhere. Every Keth world. Every military station. Every council hall. Sarek was now a name that meant betrayal and shame. He had fled somewhere, hiding from his own people. Varn did not care where. He was done with revenge, but the broadcast had done something else too. It had made Varn famous. Not in a good way. Some Keth called him a traitor for exposing one of their own. Others called him a hero for revealing the corruption. He was caught between two worlds, belonging to neither dot, so he had stayed here. In a human salvage yard. With a human mechanic who made bad jokes and worse coffee dot, it should have felt wrong. A Keth warrior reduced to fixing engines for profit? But somehow it did not feel wrong at all. It felt like peace. Hannah walked in through the side door, carrying a bag of medical supplies. She had quit her old job 2 months ago. Now she ran a small clinic out of the back of the salvage yard, treating anyone who came through the door, aliens, humans, people who could not afford proper hospitals. "We have a visitor," she announced. Varn looked up. A young Keth stood in the doorway. She was small, barely 5 feet tall, with brown fur and nervous eyes. She could not have been older than 16 by human standards. "My name is Yuri," she said. Her voice was shaking. I heard about you." "What you did?" "I want to learn from you." Varn stared at her. "Learn what?" "How to be free?" Yuri looked down at her feet. "I left my homeworld." "My family?" "They said I was weak because I asked too many questions." "I have nowhere to go." The room was quiet. Varn felt something twist in his chest. He recognized that look, that fear, that loneliness. He had felt it himself not so long ago. Date nudged him with his elbow. "Well, are you going to leave her standing there?" Varn sighed heavily. He looked at Yuri for a long moment. "Can you work?" He finally asked. Yuri nodded quickly. "I can do anything clean. Carry, I learn fast." "Then you can stay." Varn pointed to the broken engine. "Your first job is helping me with this cursed machine. The bolts are too small and I keep crushing them." Yuri's face lit up like a sunrise. She rushed forward, picking up tools and asking questions. Varn answered them in his usual grumpy way, but there was no real anger in his voice. Hannah smiled and shook her head. "We're collecting strays now?" "We've always been collecting strays," Tay said. "Look at our family. A human mechanic, a human doctor, a grumpy alien Volf, and now a young Keth with questions. We're basically a shelter for broken things." "I am not grumpy," Varn called from across the room. "You're literally growling at an engine right now." Varn did not deny it. That evening, they sat together on the roof of the salvage yard looking up at the stars. Yuri had fallen asleep inside, exhausted from her first day of work. Hannah was reviewing patient files on her tablet. Tay sat next to Varn, drinking another cup of terrible coffee. "New ship came into the auction listings," Tay said casually. "Another wreck. Nobody wants it?" "I was thinking about buying it." Varn looked at him. "You already have one wreck you cannot fix." "I fixed you, didn't I?" Varn huffed. But he did not argue. "It's a cargo hauler," Tay continued. "Old model. Probably useless, but I have a feeling about it." "Your feelings are usually wrong. My feelings brought you here." Varn was quiet. He looked at the stars, at the distant lights of ships moving through space. Somewhere out there, his old life was gone. His crew, his ship, his purpose. Everything he had known was ash and memory, but here, in this small place, surrounded by these strange humans and one young Keth who looked at him like he was something special, here he had found something new. "Buy the ship," Varn said finally. "I will help you fix it." Tay grinned. "Really? Do not make me repeat myself." "I'm going to make you repeat it every day. Then I will bite you." "Fair enough." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. The stars turned slowly overhead. The station hummed with distant life. "Tay," Varn said quietly. "Yeah? Thank you." The words were small, rough, hard to say, but they were true. Tay looked at him. For once he did not make a joke. He just nodded. "You're welcome, Varn, you're welcome." A week later, the new ship arrived. It was ugly and broken, just like Tay had said. Half the hull was missing. The engines were dead. The control room was full of sand from some unknown planet. Tay stood in front of it, hands on his hips, grinning like a child. Isn't she beautiful? Varn stared at the wreck. That is the ugliest thing I have ever seen. She has potential. She has holes. Same thing. Yuri came running up with a toolbox that was almost as big as she was. What do we start with? The engines? The hull? Can I learn how to weld? Hannah watched from a safe distance, shaking her head. I'll prepare the medical bay. Someone is definitely going to hurt themselves. Varn looked at them. At Tay already climbing into the wreck. At Yuri following him with eager steps. At Hannah, pretending to be annoyed but smiling anyway, his pack die he had not expected to find a new one. He had not wanted to. But here they were. Loud and messy and fragile and stubborn. Just like humans, he grabbed his tools and followed them. Into the broken ship, there was work to do.